you have the dread.
So my name is Ian Clark, and I just turned 50 years old this year. A lot of people don't want to reveal their age, but it doesn't bother me because I'm not against aging. What I am not for is for allowing the acceptable norm in society to tell me how I'm supposed to age, what I should expect when I get older. So we've completely separated ourselves from that. And I grew up in a standard North American diet family. I was trained with all the traditional ways of understanding, whether it be religious or otherwise, and knew nothing more than what we were supposed to accept in society, and watch people get old and live to ripe old ages. I saw some people that died in their 40s, and some people died in their 30s, some in their 50s. There weren't that many, but it was happening. And when I turned 46 years old, everybody came up to me in the family at a time we got together, and they said, "Hey, you look like Uncle Don." And I said, "Really? I look like Uncle Don." And that's not who I wanted to look like, because my Uncle Don is my mom's brother, and he died at 49. And he had cancer throughout his body. He died 2 days after my mother's other brother died of cancer. It took him a year. So both her brothers died within 2 days of each other in 1978. And that had a pretty big impact. But I didn't understand why. I thought it was just luck of the draw, you know. You're going to get cancer, you're going to have a heart attack, you're going to have a stroke, whatever. It's just the way it is. And except for when it came to my turn. And the picture that was taken of me by my oldest son, at the time my son was about just turning 20, very athletic and very in shape, even though we were eating all the wrong food. You know, young people can do that and get away with it. And he was always on my case about being unhealthy. And I thought I was generally healthy, I had lots of energy, I just didn't look very good. And so he took a picture of me. Do you want me to show you my picture? Okay, so he took this picture. I was angry that night because I didn't want to be bothered anymore, and I would never walk around without my shirt on. But that is the picture of me about 3.5 years ago, and almost 4 years ago now. And when that picture was taken, I looked at that and said, that is an image that is not me. That is an expression of somebody, but it's a perversion from something that caused this image. And I knew that wasn't me. It was something that I had become physically, but it really wasn't my image, it wasn't my soul. I mean, the body is really the reflection of the soul, it's not the soul. But it's a reflection, and so something had gone wrong in my interface. So I wanted to find out what that was. And I knew that somewheres out there that there were people that knew. I didn't know where to find them. I knew that there would be very few people that would know that information. I knew that there would be millions of people that would tell me about health, as everybody had always tried to tell me this, this, and this, and every other multi-level marketing company that came along with every one of their answers. And if we were to take all of their products, we'd be dead. So I just set an intention to have the best possible health I could have, without even understanding what setting an intention was. I just knew that out there was information, there was energy, there were people that knew, and I just didn't know where they were. I knew that I didn't know, that was for sure. In fact, whatever I did know was destroying me, was taking me to an early funeral, an early grave. So I wanted to avoid that, and obviously, with a family our size, I met my wife in 1981. We got married in 1983. We have 7 children. We kept going till we got 2 girls. That was number 5 and number 7. We were trying to balance it out with, you know, a boy and a girl, like everybody would normally have, and ended up in a large family, which is beautiful. And, you know, we got to this place where we had to have big changes. And it was down the road a long ways, and a lot of things happen when you're full of toxins in life. And we got to a place where we just had to have a major shift, a big change, a complete change, not partial, not like this is good enough or going part of the way like people get into weight loss programs. It has nothing to do with losing weight. You know, it really has nothing to do with vegetarianism. It really has nothing to do with raw food. What it has to do with is having the optimal health that you possibly can have in life. And so whatever it takes to get that, that's what it's all about. And it's a multifaceted thing. Everything from air to water to nutrition, to exercise to structure, to your mindset, to your path. All of those things amount to where you need to go and where you're going to go. Because everybody's sowing and everybody reaps everything that they sow. So I had obviously been sowing incorrectly based on a lack of understanding and a lack of knowledge, a lack of wisdom. So all those things combined got me into a pretty dangerous position. And it got my family in an extremely dangerous position. If I were to die, it would have thrown the whole thing in a very big disarray. And so people were counting on me to be healthy. And I was losing that fast. So it was a very abrupt and harsh awakening. And I looked at that picture and I said, no, not cool, not acceptable. Everybody else accepts it at my age. They all look the same. All the people I worked with looked the same. It was acceptable to be like that, but not to me. So something happened profound within me, where there was an awakening to a knowledge that there was information out there. And I just knew it was there. So it was either find that information or die. And as I continued on down the road, I found out how close I was to being taken off the scene by disrespecting my body and not being a good steward. So for many years, I knew where the soul food was, because we are a soul, we are a spirit being. I'm not saying my soul is my spirit. My spirit keeps my body alive, but my soul, the me, the real me, is expressed in words, expressed in physical image. And so I was very acutely aware of that and deeply into spiritual things and feeding my soul from the nutrients from the tree of life. That's the real food. But the body always follows the life. So my soul, as it increased in its intensity, this is what brought me to realize, hey, I better pay attention to my body because I'm a poor steward of a lot of things, one of them being my body. So everything's about stewardship. I don't own my body. I have a privilege and a right to have a healthy body, but I better learn what it takes to do that. So on the spiritual side, it was really the spiritual path that led me to really take note of my body. And that was, there was more of a physical awakening than a spiritual awakening for me, because I had to wake up. My body was manifesting something. And my life was manifesting things too. I was not at a proper perspective with people. I didn't have proper relationships with people. Even though I was spiritually attuned, I used that understanding too harshly. I was too forceful. I didn't allow people to make their own decisions. I wanted to manipulate everything. I wanted to control everything. And I wanted to control myself, And I had to learn that trying and pushing and forcing was all of those things that were incorrect. And that was all within the spiritual teaching that I was and am subjected to, which means simply allowing, getting out of the way. Nobody twisted my arm to do this. This is the interesting thing. I never had my arm twisted by anybody. Nobody came along and said, you got to do this and you got to do that and you better, none of that was done. I was just open to hear information. I had an inquiring mind that wanted to know. And I needed to know. It was life and death for me. And so when I look at everybody now, it's all about giving people options. I have my options. I can continue down the path. I could do good things. I could do great things. I could do greater things, or I could do the greatest of all. There's a permissive will and there's a perfect will. I have my choice. I can choose permissive. I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to go down those paths and I'll reap whatever I sow. But I thought, well, that would be crazy to choose anything less than the greatest path. The best ever, right? Why would I not want that? It wouldn't make sense. Why have I been going all down the road with accepting a degree of lesser all the time? So when you look at a 10-year period in your life, from 30 to 40, 40 to 50, or whatever age you're at, 20 to 30, it doesn't matter. You're either going to be on a slight incline, where you're increasing and getting better, or a slight decline. It's very subtle.